Hi, this is Dr. Sage Breslin, and this is Wisdom Wednesdays, my special series on my journey with cancer, video number 45. So, I'm just very curious. I'm curious about some things that have been happening, and I'm wondering if you can relate. So, as many of you know, I am starting a clinical trial, and as a entry into that clinical trial, I've had to do a lot of different tests and procedures, and it seems like life has just been, I feel like I've been living my life at UCSD where the trial is. So the most recent was on Monday. I went in for a PET scan, and I have had a few PET scans, maybe 3 in the last I don't know, couple of years, maybe the last 4 years. So I had a general sense of what was going to take place. And I went into the room, and if you haven't had a PET scan, they basically are putting a radioactive dye in, and then it will light up any tumors or lesions in your body. So it's one of the ways that they can track the unfortunate progress of cancer, especially if it is in the growth of new tumors. So before the trial, they're trying to get a baseline, obviously. And so I sat down, and the tech was going to go ahead and inject the radioactive dye. And I then had to sit still for 45 to 60 minutes. And it's important that you not move at all because that can change things, where the dye pools and so on and so forth. So, you sit quietly or, look at something on your phone or whatever. I mean, some people just sleep, I suppose. So I'm sitting there in the room in my little, bark lounge or whatever, and I'm waiting for the time to go by. And all of a sudden, the lights go out. And, I think there are a lot of lights, like bathroom lights that are set on a timer, right? So the lights suddenly go out, and I am sort of transfixed by this situation, because I know, having had PET scans before, that you're not supposed to move or talk, actually, even. So I am in this, interesting quandary. Do I sit in the room in the dark for the remainder of my time, or do I call out, or do I get up to turn the light back on? And that's what started this sort of pondering for me. And it started me thinking about how we, as leaders of our families, of our teams, of our communities, what we do when we're in unusual or unpredictable circumstances. What would you have done? So I'll let you in on it. My choice was, I sat in the dark. I had my phone. I could see. I wasn't afraid. It didn't matter to me that there wasn't a light on the ceiling, but it was curious to me when the tech walked in. He said, "Oh, the lights went off. All you had to do was wave your arms." Well, now, first of all, I'm thinking, you're not supposed to wave your arms because that's moving. But I didn't move at all. And I wondered, was I being compliant? Was I being really actually smart because I didn't want to have to interrupt my day yet again and come back at another day or time to do the PET scan? What was going on with me that I sat there in place in the dark? So what it got me to thinking about is, there are times where we're in traumatic situations or crisis situations, and we get hijacked by our amygdala, where we fight, take flight, or freeze. And for a moment, I wondered, am I freezing? Am I in my amygdala? Can I use my prefrontal cortex? Can I do that? And then I realized, no, I'm thinking up here with my whole brain, my whole mind. I'm not frozen. I'm not frightened. I'm not traumatized by the lights going off. I'm actually making a mindful decision not to delay my life further by having to come back to do this test again. Again, knowing that any movement could delay the test. So I, dispatched, any commentary by the tech other than get up and get into the PET scanner. But it really did make me think about, times in my life as a leader in my family of when I did actually either take flight or stand up to fight or to freeze. And I look at unhealthy relationships that I've been in where I stayed frozen for a long time. It's just, we call that, word stuck. And, I thought about times where I've been in work settings, and especially in corporate work settings, where I, poised myself to fight and fled instead. So I wonder for you, what do you do naturally, especially in your leadership? Do you take flight? Do you freeze? Do you stand up for a fight? Or are you able to be in that mindful, prefrontal cortex? Are you able to stay there and breathe through things, no matter how kind of crazy or chaotic they may be, and make decisions in a mindful and intentional way? So I'm curious to know, what you have experienced and what you choose for yourself. And maybe you'll let me know in the comments. So for those of you who get hijacked, for those of you who are triggered in those situations and who notice that you're frozen or stuck, or that you notice you're fleeing, I used to call it my wanna run. I put my wanna run in charge and then I'd be out. Or, where I put up my dukes and I poise for a fight, or I get defensive. So I'm going to encourage you to take a look. And if you are being hijacked by your amygdala, then there needs to be an opportunity to make a bridge between where you are deep within yourself, deep within your brain, to the space where you want to be in the thinking, mindful set of solutions. And generally speaking, therapists are great at doing that because they can make that part of you, that version of you, comfortable enough to rise up and sit up in the current, present state of mind, rather than in the frightened or traumatized or triggered younger version of yourself. So that's always an option. And if you're interested in taking a look at that option, I'm here for you. If you find that you're able to operate from that mindful and intentional prefrontal cortex, number one, congratulations, celebrate yourself, especially if you're able to do that in particularly difficult situations. If you notice that you are not hijacked by your amygdala and you are able to remain pretty present, but you're not quite sure how to stay mindful and how to make those decisions from a very grounded and centered place, well, that's something that can also be done in a coaching realm. Learning how to ground, learning how to put your feet down on the ground and sort of grow roots like a tree, learning how to take deep cleansing breaths so that instead of responding with emotion or a younger version of yourself, you're able to respond with the current state of mind, the current set of circumstances, and being able to have clarity about what it is you want to communicate and from where you want to communicate. You don't want to be communicating from whoever's hijacked the driver's seat. You want to be communicating from that mindful, intentional part of yourself. So if you'd like to hear more, please feel free to reach out or DM me at your earliest convenience. So have a great day or evening wherever you are. This is Dr. Sage Breslin.